Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible? I hope I'm clear. So we have a small announcement actually, like that tomorrow there is an MCQs on the concepts of community medicine. You'll be having 50 MCQs. You have to, HOD sir told that you have to log in 5 minutes before your scheduled time. So whenever the class is, that time you have to be available 5 minutes before for the instructions, and you have to note down the answers in a paper, and then you have to send in the Google form, which they be sending the link thereafter. So we'll start today's class. Okay. Okay. Today the subject for discussion is trace elements and their role in health. So we have already talked about the different kinds of nutrients, and we also discussed about the macro and micronutrients. So in micronutrients, we are going to discuss today about the minerals. So by the end of this class, you must be able to list out the various minerals which are essential to the human body, its functions, sources, what are the deficiencies caused by the you don't take the adequately the minerals, and how to prevent the deficiency, and are the recommended dietary allowance of each mineral. So okay. There are so many elements which are present in the human body. So the human body is made up of so many elements. Why is this popping up? This. Okay, about 20 minerals are of major importance to the human health, which play a very important role in the body functioning and maintenance. So, okay. So, there are again classification of minerals, again the macro minerals, micro minerals, and the trace contaminants. So macro minerals, which play a very major important role in the growth and repair of the body, like calcium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And micro minerals, these are present in very minute quantities in the human body. And trace contaminants, these are also present in the body, but they don't have any known functions, like lead, mercury, barium, boron, and aluminum. They do not have any function, but still they are present in very minute amounts in the human body. So first we'll be discussing all the minerals one by one. First one is calcium. This is about constituting the 1.5 to 2% of the total body weight. So adult body would be containing about 1200 grams of calcium. Most of it, about 98%, is present in the bones. Why is this always popping up? So most of the calcium is present in the bones, and even in blood also we find calcium, that is about 10 milligram per deciliter. and or the equilibrium of the calcium between the skeleton and the blood is maintained by the interaction of this vitamin D, parathyroid hormone, and calcitonin, which play a very important role in the maintenance of the equilibrium of calcium ions. So the source of calcium is mainly it is present in the milk and milk related products and eggs. So in milk, about in cow's milk, we find about 1200 milligrams of calcium, and human milk, it is less, of course, 300 milligrams of calcium is present. And eggs and fish are also a very good source of calcium. And not only this, but even for vegetarian diet, like green leafy vegetables, cereals, millets, and dry fruits, almonds, they are very, very good sources of calcium, and especially the millets. Ragi is a very good source of calcium. But there are certain limiting factors which are present in these foods. Like in green leafy vegetables, we find oxalic acid. This oxalic acid would be combining with calcium and form calcium oxalate. And similarly, in cereals, we find phytic acid, which combines with calcium and forms the calcium phytate. So this serves as like they would be inhibiting the absorption of calcium adequately into the body. And not only the food products, even the drinking water also provides about 200 milligrams per day of calcium. And among fruits, sitapal is a very good source of calcium. Okay. Functions of calcium is mainly the formation of bones and teeth. So especially for the growing children, it's very, very important. And even in blood, we find that factor 4 is calcium ion, which is very important for the blood clotting process. And not only that, the contraction of muscles, the cardiac activity is also, the calcium ions are required. And in lactating mothers, the production of milk is also facilitated by the presence of calcium. And not only that, in the nerve cells also the relay of electrical and chemical messages is maintained by this calcium ions. And they keep the cell membranes also intact. And many of the enzymes and hormones, the metabolism is also maintained by this calcium ion. And not only that, even calcium also helps in the vision, where it plays a crucial role in the transformation of light to electrical impulses in the retina. Okay. So these are the various functions of calcium. And not only this, uh, the absorption of calcium, normally about 20 to 30% is absorbed. And vitamin D plays an important role in the absorption of calcium, whereas the presence of phytates, I told you before, the presence of phytates and oxalates in cereals and millets, they would be inhibiting the absorption of calcium and even the fatty acids also, as well as in diet. So calcium deficiency, the common symptom which we can see is the brittle nails, where we can see the white color patches on the nails. So, and not only this, certainly the involuntary movements and cardiac arrhythmias and stunted skeletal growth and low bone density. Okay. So even the calcium deficiency causes the stunted skeletal growth, especially in growing children and adolescents. And also the bones lose the density, causing osteoporosis. So here you can see in this diagram, the normal healthy bone, which is dense, whereas the osteoporotic bone, whereas it is full of pores, and as the bone density is lost, so it is very fragile and it is more prone to fractures. Okay, the daily calcium requirement of is in adults is about 600 milligrams, whereas in pregnancy and lactation it is doubled almost, and in infants it is about 500 milligrams, and children 600 1 to 9 years it's 600 milligrams, and above in the teenage it is about 800 milligrams. So in pregnancy and in the growing children, the requirement of calcium is increased. And another most important element is phosphorus. So adult human body would be containing about 400 to 700 grams of phosphorus. This is also mostly present in the bones and teeth. So the major sources of phosphorus would be seafood, especially fish and all, eggs, even dry nuts also. And the functions of phosphorus would be same like calcium. Phosphorus is equally important for the formation of bones and teeth. It also plays an important role in all the metabolisms, and phosphorus acts as a buffer because it maintains the pH in the extracellular and intracellular body fluids. So whatever the acidic or alkaline nature of the body fluids is maintained by the phosphorus. And not only that, phosphorus also acts as an important constituent of nucleic acids, phospholipids, and other membranes. So this is about the functions of phosphorus, and requirement is, it is almost like calcium is equivalent to calcium here, but in infants the ratio is little high, like it should be 1:1.5, whereas in other age groups it is mostly 1:1. Like how much calcium we have talked about requirement, it is same. The phosphorus requirement is also same. Adult 600 milligrams per day, pregnancy lactation is 1200 milligrams per day. And deficiency of phosphorus, usually it's rare because it usually occurs in cases of any sepsis, liver disease, alcoholism, decay, diabetic ketoacidosis, and PPN, the partial parenteral nutrition. Those who are on partial the parenteral nutrition, that is they cannot have their own food and they would be on nutrition. So those people, and those who are use the excessive aluminum antacids, which inhibits the absorption of phosphorus. So these are the conditions where the phosphorus deficiency usually takes place. And another important mineral is sodium. So this is again present on all the body fluids, the extracellular body fluids. In food, usually we take it as salt, the common salt which we use in our everyday day-to life. And the depletion of sodium chloride in the body causes the muscular cramps and even the acid-base imbalance in the body. The requirement is about 5 grams per day in adults. And we also know that there is a strong relationship between the sodium intake and hypertension. So if the intake of salt is more than 10 grams per day, there has been a definitive tendency to increase the blood pressure. Next is the potassium. So potassium is again equivalent to sodium. So this is an intercellular fluid component. Sodium is extracellular fluid, while potassium is intercellular fluid component. It also maintains the acid-base balance, nerve transmission, and muscle action. So this is widely available in foodstuffs. So very rare this deficiency occurs. And a high dietary sodium intake and low potassium intake has been suggested in the causation of hypertension. The deficiency of potassium is known to cause muscle weakness and erythemias. So the ratio of sodium and potassium is again like 1:1, just like calcium and phosphorus we have talked before, which are equally important in the formation of bones and teeth, and their requirement is also about 1:1. And here same sodium and potassium are important for the maintenance of the body fluids, and this is also the requirement is 1:1. And another major mineral of important concern is magnesium. The human body is again consisting of about 25 grams of magnesium, and about half of this is mainly found in the bones. So magnesium acts as a coenzyme because like calcium and potassium for its metabolism, magnesium is important, and also in the nerve conduction, the relay of the electrical impulses and all the magnesium ions are required. So sources is banana is a very rich source of magnesium. So in hypomagnesia, in such conditions, we usually tell them to take banana, which is a very rich source of magnesium, and also avocado, dark chocolate, almonds, spinach. All these are also very good sources of magnesium. So magnesium deficiency is known to occur in chronic alcoholics and liver cirrhosis conditions, and even in toxins of pregnancy like pre-eclampsia, eclampsia. We know that in eclampsia conditions, magnesium sulfate is given for the treatment. So magnesium deficiency is known to occur in toxins of pregnancy even, and protein energy malnutrition and malabsorption syndromes also. We find this magnesium deficiency. So the symptoms of this magnesium deficiency would be irritability, tetany, involuntary contractions of muscles, hyperreflexia, and occasionally hyporeflexia is known to see with magnesium deficiency. So these are about the different macro minerals required for the body. Requirement is about 340 milligrams per day. And coming to the micro minerals, very important mineral of the concern is our iron. So the adult human body contains about 3 to 4 grams of iron. Of most of it, about 3/4, that is 70% of it is present in the blood itself as HB. We know that HB is circulating iron, and remaining 1 to 1.5 grams present as storage iron. So each gram of hemoglobin would be containing about 3.34 milligrams of iron. This is a very important bit. You have to remember 1 gram of hemoglobin contains 3.34 milligrams of iron. So if you see the red, RBC, the RBCs are red in color because of the iron present in the hemoglobin. So this gives the red color to the blood. And hemoglobin, if you see, it has 4 subunits which carries 4 oxygen molecules. So one hemoglobin carries about 4 oxygen molecules for the cell respiration and all. So throughout the body, hemoglobin supplies the oxygen molecules. So if you see the how iron is absorbed and what is its use in the body, this picture gives us a good description. Like here you can see if we take about 10 to 15 milligrams per day of iron, so this is absorbed in the small intestine. So again, this iron which we absorb is in the form of ferrous form. It's absorbed in the ferrous form. So 1 to 2 milligrams per day, it is in the blood, it is transported as plasma transferrin. This is the transportable part of the iron. And when it is lost, it is about 1 to 2 milligrams per day. How the iron is lost from the body is either through sloughed mucosal cells, like during the wear and tear of everyday actions, till desquamation, during menstruation and other blood losses due to any trauma or anything. This is about 1 to milligrams per day. And so here from this plasma transferrin, which is the active part of the iron in the body. So some of this is stored in different organs of the body, like liver, heart, pancreas, spleen, even in the muscles. It's stored as myoglobin. Of course, it is reutilized again. So these are the different organs where the iron is stored. So another very important thing about this iron function is that we know that erythropoiesis. So for the formation of the red blood cells, iron is required. So the plasma transferrin is transported to the long bones, the bone marrow where erythropoiesis takes place, and the red blood cells are produced. So after a lifespan of 120 days, this RBCs are again killed by the macrophages which identify, and they are killed. So when they are the RBC are destroyed, whatever iron is present, so whatever iron is present in that RBC is again reutilized. It is again released into the blood as plasma transferrin, and again it can be reused for the formation of other RBCs. So there is no wastage of iron anywhere. So this is the very peculiar feature of iron which you have to know. So when discussing about the sources of iron, so heme iron, we have two sources of iron here, heme iron and non-heme iron. So heme iron is nothing but it is present in the non-vegetarian sources like liver, meat, poultry and fish. So it is called a heme iron. It is easily absorbed. The heme iron is easily absorbed, whereas the non-heme iron is present in the vegetables like the vegetarian diet like cereals, green leaf vegetables, jaggery, dry fruits, legumes, all this are non-heme sources of iron. They are not readily available because they are not easily absorbed as when compared to the heme iron. But if you take this heme iron, it is easily absorbed, and also when you take the non-heme sources as well, it facilitates the absorption of non-heme sources also. Okay. So even in breast milk also you find iron, and the content is about less than 0.2 milligrams per deciliter, and it is well utilized, though it is very less quantity for the baby. And in some areas people use iron vessels for cooking. So in that also we can find that significant amount of iron can be derived. And the functions of this iron is that we already talked about the formation of hemoglobin, and it is also a component of myoglobin, cytochromes, catalase, and certain enzyme systems. Not only that, for the development of the brain and functioning also iron is very important, and the regulation of body temperature, muscle activity, catecholamine metabolism, the dopamine, epinephrine, all this for its metabolism, iron is important. And not only that, for the immunity function also it will be serving, as iron is involved in the production of T cells and antibodies. So, but the main central function of iron is oxygen transport and cell respiration through hemoglobin, as it attaches to the oxygen molecules and transports oxygen to all the cells in the body. Okay. Absorption. So here also we have certain inhibitors for the iron like phytates, oxalates, carbonates, phosphates, and dietary fiber. Even dietary fiber inhibits the absorption of iron, and milk, eggs, and tea are also inhibitors of iron. And certain duodenum and nutritional disorders like tropical screw, all these are also they inhibit the absorption of iron. As I told you in the cycle, the small intestine is the important part where most of the absorption of iron takes place. So if there is any problem in the small intestine parts, iron absorption is inhibited. Okay, promoter is like in case of increased demands, like in physiological, like during adolescence, during puberty, and during pregnancy, the demand is increased. At that time, the absorption of iron is also increased from the food. And even ascorbic acid rich foods. What is ascorbic acid? Vitamin C. Vitamin C, so citrus fruits, all this also would be enhancing the iron absorption. The main characteristic features of iron is the conservation, like what we have talked in the red cell cycle. So even if the red cell cycles are destroyed also, the iron present in them is again utilized for the formation of again new RBCs. Okay. And losses, definitely there is loss of iron from the body. It's about 1 milligram per day every day. It's common. Whereas in menstruating women, it is about if she has a 28 days cycle, the loss is about 12.5 milligrams. And the major routes of iron loss would be through hemorrhage, definitely, in physiological conditions like childbirth, menstruation, that's a physiological conditions. And pathological conditions, even hemorrhoids, peptic ulcer, malaria, and hookworm infections, blood is lost from the body. And even basal losses like through urine, sweat, bile, and all these fermented surface cells also, iron is lost from the body. And in women, the use of contraceptives like IUDs, intrauterine contraceptive device, has increased the blood loss by the average monthly loss has been increased by 35 and 146%. So it's very high. Whereas hormonal, that is why while discussing about IUDs, we say about that iron deficiency we should not prescribe for anemic women. So and even they may land up in iron deficiency anemia. So if they are on prolonged use. Whereas hormonal contraceptives are protective against this blood loss, because they would be decreasing the menstrual blood loss by about 50%. So coming to the deficiency of iron, iron deficiency in the human body, there are three different stages here. So first stage would be decrease in iron storage. So we talked about different components of iron in the body, like how in different forms, how it is. So in the first stage, we will be having the reduction in the iron storage, but there will be no other anomalies. The normal functioning of the iron would be taking place, but the storage would be reduced. Whereas next stage is the latent iron deficiency. Here the iron stores are completely exhausted. You will not find any storage iron. The ferritin. Ferritin is the storage form of iron. You will not find anywhere the ferritin, and you will not have any hemoglobin reduction. Only the stores are completely exhausted. Next is the overt iron deficiency, where you can see the iron, the transfer, the serum transferrin, which is used for the production of hemoglobin, is reduced. So the hemoglobin, we can see that the circulating hemoglobin would be reduced. So hemoglobin synthesis will be definitely interrupted because of less iron. So this is the third stage, and this is the stage which we can see. The first and second stage are not visible, because we always diagnose anemia based on HP levels, right? We always go for testing of HP, and then we will be diagnosing anemia. But there are two other stages before that which we can prevent actually. So the ultimate we will be land up in the nutritional anemia for regarding iron deficiency, where there is the RBCs are very less scattered, and not only this, we also find other disturbances like impaired cell immunity would be reduced, and infections would be common with them, and definitely they will be having increased morbidity and mortality, and diminished work performance. They cannot do the regular work which they can do previously. So work performance would be diminished. So these are the different manifestations of iron deficiency. How we will be diagnosing anemia? Definitely based on their HP levels. So WHO classification, they have given certain cutoffs. So for males, it is 13 gram per deciliter. So below it, we say it is anemic. For non-pregnant females, it is 12 gram per deciliter, whereas in pregnancy, as there is usually physiologically there is decreased hemoglobin. So the cutoff has been given as 11 gram per deciliter, and children, it is again, we have different numbers, and 10 to 11 gram per deciliter, if it is the level is, we usually say it is early anemia, and below 10 it is marked anemia. So how will you estimate the iron status in the body? So I told you, like, there are different forms: ferritin, ferrous, serum transferrin level. So these are the different forms of iron present in the body. So in pre-latent iron deficiency anemia, that is the first stage of iron deficiency, we see that there is depletion of the storage iron. So serum ferritin levels are decreased. Okay, next is the latent iron deficiency. Here the serum iron is decreased and the total iron binding capacity is increased. That is, this indirectly denotes the transferrin component. Okay, so you have to understand that, like, whenever the iron is reduced, the body tries to what do you say, like, it tries to get more of the iron, so the iron binding capacity would be increased. So this is again a very important indicator. And the last one is manifest the last iron deficiency anemia. Here the HP levels are reduced. Okay. So again, the same repetition here. HB concentration, it is an insensitive index because already the loss has happened. And serum iron concentration, it is more important than this because in the second stage itself we can diagnose this iron deficiency, and the normal range is about 0.8 to 1.8 milligram per liter. And below 0.5 it is indicates a probable iron deficiency. And serum ferritin, this is more sensitive tool because we can detect even in the first stage of iron deficiency itself, because at this stage we can identify, we can supplement iron so that we can prevent the manifestations of iron deficiency anemia. So values less than 10 microgram per liter would indicate an absence of iron, stored iron. And another one is the serum transference saturation. So this is different from the total iron binding capacity. In latent iron deficiency anemia, serum transference saturation is reduced, whereas the total iron binding capacity is increased. So don't get confused between two of it. And requirement, there is so much again here, different values. Please go through it. In pregnancy and lactation, definitely it is increased. And even in the adolescents, again, we have different range of daily requirement based upon their age, growing age. And another important mineral is iodine. So iodine is again very important for the synthesis of thyroid hormones, mainly the triiodothyronine and thyroxine hormones. And it's very, very important for the, especially the growing fetus, because for the brain and central nervous system development, we require iron. So iron is especially found in the seafoods. Seafish, the fish and the salt, rock salt which we have is a very good source of iodine. And even now, like the salt is being iodized, like iodized salt is also available in the market. And cod liver oil and soil and water, even water, drinking water also contains the iodine. And soil, even soil, the plants which grow in the iodized soil rich soil, you can find the high quantities of iodine in them. Okay, so mainly the seafoods are rich in iodine and salt. So what are these goitrogens here? So goitrogens are nothing but these are the chemical substances which promote the development of goiter. So it's nothing but they interfere with the utilization of iodine. They will be inhibiting the iodine absorption by the thyroid gland. So these are mainly the cyanoglycosides and thiocyanates. It's mainly present in the Brassica family, like cabbage, cauliflower. They are known to have this goitrogens and play an important role in the causation of goiter. So, causation of this iodine deficiency, what are the manifestations? Previously, it was known that iodine deficiency means only goiter. There is nothing else. But later, it was understood that not only goiter or hypothyroidism, there are so many set of spectrum of disorders ranging from mild to severe manifestations of this. So they have given the term as iodine deficiency disorders, IDD. So we will just discuss what are the different manifestations here. Goiter, the swelling of the neck, you can see, like the thyroid gland is enlarged, and it could be multinodular as well, and hypothyroidism. And in children, low intelligent quotient, the mental retardation is seen. And in growing children, you can identify by the milestones are delayed in them, and mental deficiency, speech defects, hearing defects are known in children with IDD. And strabismus squint, the normal the eye is deviated towards one side. It could be unilateral or bilateral, and even nystagmus, the involuntary movements of the eyeballs. So this is also seen in this iodine deficiency. And spasticity, the neuromuscular weakness, it could be diplegia, paraplegia conditions are also known. And endemic cretinism, the congenital hypothyroidism, those children those babies born to mothers who do not take optimum iodine during their pregnancy period, they would be resulting in this cretin chain. So here how they would be looking. And it could be hypothyroid cretinism or neurological cretinism, because neurological manifestations may be seen in them. And in some cases, the baby may not be born itself. Abortions and miscarriages are also known if the pregnant mother is having any this iodine deficiency thyroid problems. So requirement in infants is about 550 micrograms per day, and children it is about 100 micrograms, and adults it's 150 micrograms, and pregnancy it is 250 micrograms per day. So usually with the normal balanced diet with the salt which we take and drinking water, we do not usually face this kind of problem. But in some regions, we find that the food and water are deficient in iodine, like the Himalayan goiter belt, we know that. So in that areas, this iodine deficiency disorders are most commonly seen. And how do you assess the iodine deficiency? By calculating the prevalence of goiter, prevalence of cretinism, urinary iodine excretion, and measurement of thyroid hormones, especially T4 is a more sensitive indicator than T3, and even thyroid stimulating hormone TSH is also again indicates the iodine deficiency, and prevalence of neonatal hypothyroidism. So this is about the iodine. And next other important mineral is fluorine. Fluorine is a very abundant element in the nature which you can find freely, but it is a very highly reactive. So we usually find it only in the combined form. Fluorine is again important for the normal mineralization of the bones and formation of dental enamel. The teeth, while growing the formation of enamel, we require fluorine for it. So again, fluorine we usually find it from drinking water. In normal drinking water, fluorine content is about 0.5 to 0.8 milligram per liter. But in certain fluorosis areas, endemic areas like Nellore, Prakasham district in our Andhra Pradesh and certain parts of Orissa and some other states, we find this fluorosis endemic areas where the drinking water themselves, underground water would be very having high contents of fluorine. It could be about 3 to 12 milligrams per liter. In such cases, we find this fluorine excess disorders. And not only that, seafoods, cheese, tea, these are also very good sources of fluorine. So fluorine is again called as a double-edged sword, because either side, we now till now we only spoke about deficiency. అది తీసుకోకపోతే మనకి ఏ ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుంది, కానీ ఫ్లోరిన్తో ఎక్కువ తీసుకున్న ప్రాబ్లమే, తక్కువ తీసుకున్న ప్రాబ్లమే. సో ఇట్స్ కాల్డ్ అస్ ఎ డబుల్ ఎడ్జ్ స్వార్డ్. సో నార్మల్ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఇస్ అబౌట్ 0.5 to 0.8 milligram per liter. So deficiency low, we can see the dental caries where the bacterial infection takes place in the children, especially the enamel, and the tooth is decayed. And excess intake, if you can see this picture. So these are the normal teeth, and here you can see that there is mottling of the enamel, like there is development of some brownish discoloration of the, especially the front, the incisors, the front four teeth, you'll be having the brownish discoloration which could later be darkened, and this patchy, all these patches would be turning into pittings. So this ultimately all this it will be pitted and then it would be turned into black color, and it may cause complete damage of the tooth itself. So this is called as the dental fluorosis, where the excess fluorosis destroys the dental enamel. So here this fluorosis is seen in conditions, in places where the drinking water contains about more than 1.5 ppm. And another is, we know that fluorine is required for teeth and bone. So when it affects the bones, it's called the skeletal fluorosis. When the intake is about more than 3 to 6 ppm, you can see the skeletal fluorosis, where the bones are affected. This fluorine is deposited in the bones, and the joints become stiff, and the cartilage, the bones like they cannot walk, and even they develop into crippling fluorosis that they cannot even stand on their own legs. This is seen when the intake of fluorine is about more than 10 ppm. So even in children also, the bowing of legs. So all this would be, they'll be more prone to fractures because of this skeletal fluorosis. So apart from these are the all are the very important minerals required for the human body. Each and every question is very important, like iron or iodine or fluorine. Each and every one is equally important. So please read them well. And other trace elements, just for information purpose, like zinc. We know that zinc is also very, these are also important. Other trace elements, so they are also required for the body, but very minute quantities they are enough. And zinc is about, the presence is about 2 grams in the total body, and functions is, it is an important component of more than 300 enzymes, and it is active in the metabolism of certain glucosides and proteins. And not only that, zinc is also known in the synthesis of insulin by the pancreas, and for its efficient storage is also zinc is important. And structural constituent of leukocytes, and vital role in the synthesis of nucleic acids are like RNA, DNA. Zinc is very important, and zinc also plays a very important role as an antioxidant. Antioxidant properties are very high with zinc, and even sexual maturation for the development of secondary sexual characters in puberty, in the growing children. Zinc is very important. Sources is very, it is widely distributed in both animal as well as vegetable foods. So we can see here different kinds of foods. So deficiency of zinc causes mainly the growth failure and sexual infantilism in adults. What is sexual infantilism? It is nothing but in adolescence, usually during that age, the secondary sexual characters develop in girls or boys, but that is delayed, or they do not develop in this sexual infantilism, which is mainly caused due to zinc deficiency. And even there is loss of taste and delayed wound healing. And even zinc deficiency is also known with causation of this loss of immunity. So even in the present scenario, we are talking about zinc. You have to take zinc because you have to boost up your immune system against the corona. So zinc is again a very important for the boosting up of the immune system. And not only that, even in pregnant mothers, if the zinc deficiency, severe zinc deficiency is known to cause spontaneous abortions and even anomalies like anencephaly. And milder forms of zinc deficiency is known to cause with low birth weight, intrauterine growth retardation, and preterm deliveries. So especially this zinc circulating levels is known with liver diseases, pernicious anemia, thalassemias, and myocardial infections usually find this condition. So the daily requirement is again here, like men it is about 15 milligrams, women and children it is 10 milligrams, pregnant lactating mothers it is 12 milligrams, and infants it's 5 milligrams. So again, zinc has a very important functions, like in Viva or anywhere they can ask this question. So in diarrhea, in a chronic, in acute or persistent diarrhea, we usually give zinc along with the oral rehydration solution, because zinc is known to repair the mucus, the GIT, and whatever the epithelium is, GIT epithelium is lost, it is known to revive. So in that way, it reduces the duration and severity of the diarrheal episodes. So the doses for under 6 months of for children, dose is about 10 milligram per day, whereas for children older than 6 months, it is 20 milligram per day. So this is again a very important MCQ or like Viva question. And just 4 more slides. And another one is copper. Copper, even our body contains different, here you can see in the brain and again some other or different organs we find copper. So about 100 to 150 milligrams copper is found in our human body. So this is actually, the deficiency or excess is very rare, And the deficiency, the condition of copper is called as hypocupremia. This usually occurs in nephrosis, Wilson's disease, and protein energy malnutrition conditions, or even in infants who are fed for long periods exclusively on cow's milk. So this hypocupremia we can know beforehand by the measurement of this neutropenia. Usually the neutrophils are less. The neutrophils are less in this copper deficiency, and excess of copper is known to cause with the condition is called as hypercupremia. So in some people they usually take the copper vessels which the food is cooked in them. So in such cases this hypercupremia conditions are known to occur, or even in some acute and chronic condition infections also this hypercupremia is known to see. So requirement is about 2 milligram per day. Next, very trace element is the cobalt. So this is known. There is no so very important function of this cobalt, but it is known as a part of the vitamin B12 molecule, which must be ingested to perform. So there is no evidence of any cobalt deficiency, but recent evidence has suggested that cobalt and iodine both are required for the functioning of thyroid gland. So cobalt deficiency and cobalt iodine ratio in soil has known to produce goiter in humans. So it has been recently associated with this goiter. And another one is chromium. So this is also very small body. The total body content is only less than 6 milligrams. Chromium is known to be a part of glucose tolerance factor, and sources is about seafood, meat, whole grain products, cheese. These are the important sources of chromium. And deficiency, as it is a part of glucose tolerance factor, we can see there is impaired glucose tolerance leading to diabetes in with chromium deficiency, and weight loss with peripheral neuropathy is known to see. And recommended dietary allowance is 50 to 200 micrograms. Okay. Next one is selenium. Selenium is deficiency is known to see with this mainly protein energy malnutrition. So when this selenium deficiency is combined with vitamin E deficiency, it reduces the antibody production, and Keshan disease is again a very just know for your information I'm telling. Keshan disease is known to occur with the selenium deficiency, where it is like endemic cardiomyopathy. This is especially seen in children, like very less age. There is production of this inflammatory substances against the cardiac tissue and causes the cardiogenic shock and congestive heart failure. So this is very severe form if it occurs. So Keshan disease is known, very known disease which is known with selenium deficiency. And next one is molybdenum. So molybdenum, the last one, the excess absorption is known to seen with this bony deformities you can see in this picture. There is the upper limbs and lower limbs, they are deformed, and the deficiency is known to associate with mouth and esophageal cancers. Okay, so these are the different elements and minerals which are important for the human body functioning and its maintenance. So please have a read about the iron, which is very important. Iron, iodine, fluorine, these are very important questions. And not only that, in your next everyday practice also, like there are common questions about this. So please have a look on this. And again, those who did not listen about like regarding the tomorrow's MCQs, please log in 5 minutes before your scheduled time. Okay, thank you.